to Arsenal. We know they've of course been linked with a move today with Osimhen, and there's a Yuri Tielemans links. From your understanding, what's kind of going on at Arsenal right now in terms of their big summer ahead?
As you say, those names have all been linked with Arsenal. The most longest standing one we should start with first, that's Yuri Tielemans. And Arsenal were the front runners, but Tielemans has always says he wants to play Champions League football, and he won't be short of offers because his contract's running down at Leicester. He's intimated privately that he doesn't want to stay at Leicester City. So the fee could range, depending on when the deal gets done, from probably at the lower end of the bracket, 25 million, up to about 35 million. Leicester would obviously like more, but the primary aim is to sort of break even on the transfer fee they paid, which is believed to be something in the region of 32 million. And Arsenal's kind of advantage with Tielemans is the fact that it was a football club that he fell in love with and wanted to join prior to being at Monaco. But he was reticent because at that point in his career, he thought that he wouldn't get much first-team football, and therefore he took a step back, obviously went Monaco, Leicester, and Arsenal is kind of a full-circle move. He likes the idea of London as well. But Champions League has always been the big thing, and he made that clear to Arsenal when they started talks around about a year ago. The parties had more advanced talks in January to kind of firm up provisional terms. And as a consequence, Edu and Mikel Arteta were very confident. But obviously, they were talking at the turn of the year during a time where Arsenal were motoring. And since then, other contenders have come in, including Tottenham and, as I understand it, Real Madrid. But Madrid haven't started any kind of advanced talks. But it would be a natural move because in that position, there's a range of players that are at the back end of their career. And although still at their peak, Luka Modric, obviously having been influential to leading Real to the Champions League final and one insane assist in particular against Chelsea for Rodrigo, showing his class. But Tielemans is very different because he adds a bit more energy. He gets more box to box, whereas Modric is more these days about controlling the game with the pass and the touch. So obviously there's an element of appeal there. I'm not sure that there's any substance yet between Tielemans and Real Madrid, but Arsenal need to go back to Tielemans now and essentially work out whether he's still prepared to complete that deal without Champions League football. And there'll be others like Spurs that may be able to gate crash that at the last minute. So that's a little bit worrying for Arsenal because only a few weeks ago they were front runners. North London derby lost to Newcastle, and how quickly things can change. So if they're going to complete that deal, they have to show Tielemans a strategy and a plan, which will include other recruitment to get into Champions League within a season. And then he still might be persuaded by that. I don't think he's ruled it out, but his official position has always been Champions League football because he believes that the quality of suitors that will come in for the price that he's available at will allow him Champions League football. So why not take it? And that, for example, is why Manchester United are out the mix as well. With Gabriel Jesus, it's an interesting one. Arsenal are definitely interested in him. And this is a potential transfer now that is gathering momentum. Arsenal have been in contact with Manchester City, and the price tag is going to be quite high, probably in excess of 45 million, maybe even a little bit closer to 55 million. And Arsenal's starting point, certainly in very early back and forth, is that that's too high. But fundamentally, Arsenal shouldn't be quibbling over that 5 or 10 million because Jesus has finished the season well, is probably still surplus to long-term requirements at Manchester City. But it will be interesting to see how that one materializes because obviously if they let Sterling go, who's in double figures, they let Jesus go, who's hit a bit of a flurry in the close of the season, then they're reliant naturally on Haaland to come in with some goals. And there's plenty of other players, De Bruyne, Gundogan. Like, you're not exactly sport for choice for goals, but you're still basically getting rid of the best part of 35 goals if you let both of those players go. I think Jesus will go out the door, though, and Arsenal are certainly in the mix. And they need to find a way of catching up, which is why I think they're going to be very busy over the summer because they didn't do anything in January. Vlahovic they were unlucky with because they made a bold move for a player that always wanted to join Juventus. And Juventus weren't bidding in January. So what Edu and Arteta did was put down a very strong offer, and it had a part exchange element as well. But all it, unfortunately for them, did, quite surprisingly to Arsenal, was trigger Juventus to go earlier. And because that was always his preference, it made it a tough deal because the player was always more likely to pick Juventus. So now Arsenal need Jesus, ideally, if they can get hold of him. But they need a 20-plus goal striker. So, Victor Osimhen falls into that category potentially as well. A good age, has had a phenomenal season with Napoli, and will only grow and score more goals. 14 Serie A goals this season, 18 in all competitions, double figures for the last 4 seasons, including when he was in the Belgium Pro League on loan. And that was during a time also where he was starting to kind of become more of a poacher. He's now got a real sense for goal, and I think would warm to the pace and the physicality of the Premier League. But again, that is a deal that is nowhere near. So Arsenal have an interest, but Napoli are intent on a sky-high fee. So I think the challenge for Arsenal is to kind of be consistent in their approach, because if they're quibbling over 45, which perhaps they want to pay, versus 55 for Jesus, then that strategy is not going to convince Napoli to sell, because they're going to slap a price tag on Osimhen for in excess of 75 million. And if Arsenal don't see value in Jesus, who knows the Premier League and is a more instant goal scorer and somebody that wouldn't need to adapt, if Arsenal aren't prepared to pay that, I'd be surprised personally, only my opinion, if they find another 30 or 40 million to convince Napoli to sell. So, these are all players that would add to Arsenal's Champions League challenge and credentials next season. But first and foremost, they have to maybe be prepared to see value in a player and what they can do, and discount the value of the transfer fee. In other words, overspend, because they realize over time they'll get their money back on the field, rather than look at the terms of the deal and just be put off by price tags. Because if they're quibbling over 5s and 10 millions, then another team will come in and they'll end up losing out, because maybe they're a little bit, I don't want to say indecisive, because that's a bit unfair, but they're too prudent minded, and they look at the financials over the value of the player on the field.
And I think that's a really fair point, because I look at Arsenal now and they need to add, age is key, but they need to add quality. And you look at the, forgive me, Osimhen, I'm not too sure of his age, if I'm being honest, I didn't check.
23.
But 22. So he's still on the young side, but he's got some experience. Tielemans, mid-20s. Gabriel Jesus, I believe, 25, 26. Along those lines, they need that age of player added to this squad. They tend to be a little bit more expensive if they've been successful in their previous teams. They need to add that experience to help the Sakas, the Smith Rowes, the Martinellis almost go to that next level. I think it's really unfair to expect players of that age and category to be able to carry a team into the Champions League and beyond. You need to add that experience in. And I suppose for Gooners that are tuning in and listening, like, what is your take on that around, the club and what they're doing and things along those lines? Not too sure what happened there. There we go. We got Ben back. It might have fallen. But yeah, look, viewers, let us know what you think and feel in relation to that.